So now page 26, now we have to see Gandhiji's views on the constitution. So let's start now. So Gandhiji in his speech he was saying that I shall do all the great efforts to obtain a constitution which will release India from all the slavery and outside powers. Then Gandhiji was saying, I shall work for that India in which all the poor people shall feel that it is their country in which whose growth and development they have an effective role to play. Then Gandhiji was saying further, I shall work for that India in which there shall be no high class and low class, that is where all are equal. So I will strive to work towards such kind of India. Further, I shall work for such India in which all communities, sections shall live in perfect coordination and mutual trust. And in such India, there will be no room for evils like untouchability or evil of drinking and consuming drugs, where women will also work and enjoy the same rights as men. That is, no exploitation of women. Then only I shall be satisfied if we achieve all these things in our independent India. Now, the same dream of an India that has eliminated inequality was shared by Dr. Ambedkar, who played a very important role in making of the constitution, but he had a different understanding of how inequalities could be removed, and he criticized Gandhiji and his vision, that is, we can transform India by social upliftment. In his final speech to the Constituent Assembly, Dr. Ambedkar stated his fears very clearly. So now let's see his speech. On the 26th January 1950, we are going to enter a life of contradictions. In political arena, we will have equality, but in social and economic life, we will have inequality. So, through constitutional provisions, we can bring equality only politically. But what about social and economic equality? But because of the social and economic structure, we will continue to refuse to admit the principle of one man and one value, that is equality. So, how long shall we continue to live this life of contradictions, where we will achieve political equality, but the major problem of our country is social and economic inequality? And how long we will deny this equality to our citizens? And if we will deny this equality for long, then our political equality will also be in danger. Page 27, we have to see now here the Pandit Nehru speech here. So let's start. Long years ago, we made a meeting with our future, and now the time comes when we shall redeem, regain, retrieve our promise, not entirely but very essentially. So, very important promise we have to make. When we hit the midnight hour, when the world sleeps, India will awake to new life and freedom. So, when the world will be sleeping, we will awake to a new life and freedom. A moment comes which comes rarely in history, when we step out from the old era to a new era. So, when one age ends. So, this kind of moments are rare in history. When the soul of a nation, forcefully suppressed, means controlled, finds a voice, it is suitable, very appropriate that at this formal meeting we take a promise of full dedication, commitment to the service of India and its people, and to be committed to serve humanity. Freedom and power brings responsibility also. The responsibility now rests upon the Constituent Assembly, which is a sovereign assembly representing the sovereign people of India. Before the birth of freedom, we have suffered all the pains, grief, and we struggled, and all the hard work, labor to attain independence, and our hearts are filled with the memories of this grief, this exploitation and humiliation, and some of those pains will continue even now. That is the pains of labor, meaning now we have to do more hard work in order to lift our nation out of the grief we suffered in form of partition. We have to suffer other pains also, like the curse of poverty, unemployment. Rather, we have to fight these problems together. But nevertheless, past is gone, no problem now. Past is gone, and it is very attractive future. A very beautiful future is waiting for us, and now we have to build our country's future. So no rest now. but we have to continuously work without pause. We have to make great efforts so that we may fulfill the promise we have often made, and one promise we shall make today also. Now you have to serve your country, India, and we have to serve those million of people who suffered a lot. So we have to continuously work together in order to eradicate, remove poverty, disease, lack of knowledge, and inequality of opportunity. And the aim of the greatest man of our generation has been to wipe and remove every tear from every eye. Now here Pandit Nehru is mentioning this, the greatest man. He is relating this to Mahatma Gandhi ji, the aim of our greatest man. So here he is addressing to Mahatma Gandhi ji of our generation has been to wipe and remove every tear from every eye. So after this, that may be beyond the control, that may be beyond our control, but as long as there are tears and pains in the eyes of our country men, so long our work will not be over. Moving to page 28, students, here we have to discuss the philosophy of the Constitution. The values that inspired and guided the freedom struggle and were in turn protected by it. Now the values here like unity, unified under the one umbrella of freedom struggle, equality, liberty, brotherhood, these values form the foundation for India's democracy, and these values are fixed firmly in the preamble of our Indian Constitution. These values guided all the articles of our Indian Constitution, and the Constitution begins with the short statement of its basic values, and this is called preamble to the Constitution. So we have taken the inspiration from the American Constitution to include preamble, that is to begin our Constitution with preamble. So what is preamble? It is introductory statement of basic values in our Constitution. So on page 29, students, we have to see the preamble of our Constitution. It reads like a poem on the democracy, and it is the soul of Indian Constitution. So we will see now the preamble. We the people of India, that is we who has made this Constitution, we the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute. So with full dignity we have taken this pledge to constitute India into a sovereign, socialist and secular democratic republic. Means here what is the meaning of sovereign? Sovereign means the people, they have supreme right to make their decisions on internal and external matter, and no external power can dictate the government of India. No interference from the external powers. Whatever in our internal matters, we will make the policies. So India is a sovereign. Socialist now means the wealth is generated socially and should be shared equally by the society, and the government should regulate all the ownership of land and industry to reduce the socio-economic inequality. So this is the meaning of socialist, where socialism will be there, equality will be there. Then secular means we have a complete freedom of to follow any religion, no official religion, and government treat all religions with equal respect. Democratic means a form of government where people enjoy equal political rights, elect their leaders and hold them accountable and ask them questions, and the government is run according to the basic rules. A republic, what is the meaning of republic? The head of the state is an elected person and he is not any king or queen. So the president, the head of the state, he is the elected person. So that is the meaning of republic, and we have a constitution. So and further, to secure all its citizens justice, social, economic and political justice. So justice here means citizens cannot be discriminated on the grounds of religion, gender, caste, and social inequalities has to be reduced. The government in the mixed economy, they have to work for the welfare of the poor people. Liberty of Next is liberty of thought, expression and belief, faith and worship. So liberty, there is no unreasonable restrictions on the citizens in what they think, how they wish to express their thoughts, and the way they wish to follow up their thoughts in actions. Means full liberty is there. We can speak, we can express ourselves, we can worship the way we like, and whichever religion we want to adopt, we can adopt. Next is equality of status and opportunity. Equality means all are equal before the law, and the traditional social inequalities have to be ended. The government should ensure equal opportunity. And then fraternity, it means brotherhood. All of us should behave as if we are members of the same family. No one should treat a fellow citizen as inferior. This will assure the dignity of the individual and the unity and integrity of the nation. And in our Constituent Assembly, this 26th day of November 1949, do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this constitution. So this is the preamble of our constitution. So now page 30 of our chapter, students, institutional design. Here we have to discuss. So our constitution not only specifies the values on which it is based, but it also shapes our institutional arrangement. That is, what type of institution arrangement will be there, who will have how much power. So everything will be specified through union list, state list, concurrent list and residuary list. Means in union list, center will have all the powers, all the important subjects will be there related to currency, banking, communication, defense. Then in state list, all the subjects of the local and state importance will be there: irrigation, agriculture, police, sanitation, public health. So where the state will only make the laws, then concurrent, both can make the laws. Like education is the subject, center and state, they can make the law, but in case of conflict, central law will prevail. And residuary, the areas which were not there when our constitution was enacted, so all this will fall under residuary, like IT, computer, software, and central government, they have a power to legislate on these issues. So legislature, executive, judiciary, their powers, everything is written in the constitution. Okay, how the elections will be conducted, the powers of the president, the powers of the prime minister, powers of the parliament. So everything is written in the constitution. And constitution also puts the limits on the powers of the government. So the constitution specifies the power of each organ. So that's why everything works in a smooth manner. Checks and balances there in our constitution. And constitutional amendments are there, that is, changes we make in this constitution through amendments, so that we can add something, we can delete something, because our society is continuously evolving. So there is a change in the society. So as society evolves, changes, so we have to make changes in our constitution. It is not that our constitution is fixed, it is static, it is not like Ramayana or Mahabharata, that it is once written, we can't change it. It is not that we can't make any changes in it. No, we can change. How we can change? Through constitutional amendment. Okay, if necessity is there, we make the constitutional amendments. Okay, so this this keeps our constitution updated. So if you read the constitution for the first time, it can be quite difficult for you to understand. Yet the basic institutional design is not very difficult to understand, like the organs, the horizontal distribution of power, the vertical distribution of power, the organs we have: legislative, executive, judiciary. Then the federal structure we have: central, state and local level. So everything is mentioned in our constitution. And the constitution, it also protects the rights of the citizens, that the government also can't violate our rights.